January 23, 2026. The heart of the chess world is beating in the windy Dutch village of Wijk aan Zee at the legendary Tata Steel Tournament. We are in round 6, and on the table, we have not just two players, but the future of chess. On one side, the pride of Uzbekistan, the cold-blooded assassin, Nodirbek Abdusattorov. On the other, the Indian prodigy, the human calculator, Gukesh D. This matchup is far more than just a fight for a point on the scoreboard. This is a battle for psychological dominance on the road to the summit. Abdusattorov chooses one of the most classic, most debated openings in chess history, aiming to put Gukesh into a positional vice right from the very first seconds. The game may seem to start quietly, but the board will soon turn into a blazing inferno, ending with a tactical blow so precise that a comeback becomes impossible for black. If you've got your tea or coffee ready, let's dive into this 13-minute strategy lesson and examine Abdusattorov's masterpiece up close. We start the game with the classic king's pawn moves, followed by the knights coming out. White develops his bishop, reaching that famous position often called the Spanish torture. When black questions this bishop with a pawn, Abdusattorov makes his first critical decision. Instead of retreating the bishop, he chooses a sharp variation less common in modern elite chess but favored by the legendary Bobby Fischer, and he captures the knight with his bishop. So why did Abdusattorov sacrifice that beautiful light-squared bishop for a knight? Friends, the idea here is very deep. White is damaging black's pawn structure. Look, black is forced to capture with a pawn, creating doubled pawns on the vertical file. White has a long-term plan that extends all the way to the endgame, a pawn majority on the king side. If the game simplifies and all pieces are traded off, it will be very easy for white to create a passed pawn on the king side. Black's pawn majority on the queen side, however, is ineffective due to those doubled pawns. In return, Gukesh has the advantage of the bishop pair. So the question is, will Abdusattorov's structural advantage prevail, or Gukesh's bishops? Moving into the middle game, we see just how patiently Abdusattorov plays. First, he retreats his bishop to a safe square, then pushes a flank pawn to gain space on the queen side. White is in no rush. He is specifically restricting Gukesh's attempts at counterplay. Here, we must pay attention to a specific knight maneuver. Abdusattorov wants to place his knight to look right into the heart of the enemy camp, targeting those weak squares on the king side. In chess, the concept of a weak square is crucial. Gukesh's defense looks solid, but those white knights are constantly annoying. Gukesh pulls his bishop back to defend, taking precautions. Both sides are feeling each other out. But notice this, Abdusattorov's queen has slowly started glancing toward the king side. With his queen move, he sends the message, "I am coming." Gukesh tucks his king into the corner, but the storm is approaching. We should also note the clock times in this section. The players are starting to burn time because a single incorrect pawn push could throw the entire strategy into the trash. And now we arrive at the moments where the color of the game changes. Abdusattorov abandons pure strategy and says, "I want to deliver checkmate." He pushes his h-pawn, advancing like a battering ram to smash open the black king's sanctuary. Gukesh is forced to push a pawn to chase away the white knight, but this move weakens the pawn structure, that fortress in front of his king. The dark squares are now very weak. A moment later, the white pawn advances even further. Gukesh is forced to capture. Friends, look at the board. The front of the black king is completely blown open. Abdusattorov pulls his queen to the open file, planning a deadly attack. Gukesh tries to set up a defensive line with his rook. At this point, we must give credit to Gukesh. He is defending in a very difficult position and looking for counter chances. We might think black's bishop pair is still dangerous, but Abdusattorov gives those bishops no room to breathe. And here is the moment. White takes full initiative with a pawn push, but the real killer blow comes on move 34 to 34. e5. Why is this move so powerful? Because it shatters the center, cuts the connection between the black pieces, and opens paths for the white queen and rook to enter the game. Gukesh is in time trouble and under immense pressure. When we get to move 36, Gukesh, perhaps racing against seconds, makes that fatal mistake. 36. rg5? This move loses the game instantly. Why? Because the f6 square, that critical f6 square, is left abandoned. Does Abdusattorov forgive this mistake? Never. 37. qxf6 plus, check. And here, Gukesh resigns. Let's show why he quit. If the king runs, there is a mating net. If he blocks with a piece, there is massive material loss. There is no escape. Abdusattorov executed the subtle strategy he established in the opening with patience in the middle game, and finished it off with sharp tactical vision in the endgame. He proved to us why this opening variation is still a dangerous weapon at the elite level. Forcing a defensive master like Gukesh into a blunder is truly a great achievement. This game taught us this. Sometimes giving up the bishops, if it brings a long-term pawn structure advantage, can win you the match. I hope you enjoyed this 13-minute analysis. What do you think about Abdusattorov's performance? Let's meet in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next analysis. Stay with chess.